Now I think we have the sermon, which is don't put it off. Okay. Today I want to tell you a 5-step plan to get even the most die-hard procrastinator moving again. Do we have any procrastinators here? Okay. And do we have any non-procrastinators here? Someone who never procrastinates? I see one. Okay. I want to know you and know how you do it. I don't consider myself a big procrastinator, but I did just start working on this sermon on Friday night, less than 2 days ago. Usually I give myself a week to write a sermon, but I kept putting it off. I considered my excuses. I had to write 2 memorial services first, and then I could work on this sermon. But the truth is, even after I had the memorial services done, I didn't start on this sermon right away. That's usually not my style in life, but it is in writing. So whether you are a dedicated procrastinator or someone who just sometimes gets stuck in a rut, I want to share with you some ideas about how to get unstuck. I was pondering what I could write about procrastination, and then Divine stepped in. I will tell you, I keep all of my old copies of Reader's Digest, 35 years of them. And every once in a while, I'll pull one out and reread it because I don't remember it from 35 years ago. And I just happened to pull one out of the stack, which amazingly had an article on procrastination. I had already told Janice that I'd be talking about procrastination when there it was in my hands, and I had to say, thank you, Divine Energy. The article was titled, Stop Putting It Off, and was from the Reader's Digest dated January 1992, 31 years ago. The article was adapted from Dr. David Burns. The 5 most common reasons we procrastinate and how to overcome them starting today. Procrastination refers to the voluntary postponement of an unpleasant task, often against one's better judgment. When a person procrastinates, they pass the buck to their future self. Although some procrastinators claim they work better under the pressure, perhaps also needing the adrenaline rush of a last-minute deadline to get started. So back to the 5 reasons we procrastinate. The first is an absence of structure. The lack of imposed direction that becomes common in the workplace might contribute to the increase in procrastination. The collapse of the delay between impulse and decision inevitably favors impulse. For example, checking your Facebook instead of doing work. Our easy online access makes urges easy to gratify. One solution to this is to design your environment in a way that makes your desired goal more likely to happen. For example, if you tend to check your email or your Facebook too often, make it difficult for you to get connected to the internet. The second reason we become procrastinators are unpleasant tasks. The most significant predictor of procrastination is a task that's considered unpleasant, boring, or uninteresting. For example, doing the laundry or exercising. How can you complete your unpleasant task on time? One strategy is to divide and conquer. Shift your focus from the ultimate goal to a series of easy-to-complete intermediate tasks. Another strategy is to form an if-then plan to automate goal striving. For example, if I turn the computer on, I will first work on my assignment for 45 minutes. The third reason we procrastinate, timing. Another important factor is the timing of the reward and punishment, meaning that the point of choice and the associated consequences are separated in time. A gap like this produces internal conflict between future and present interest. Procrastination occurs when present efforts are highly noticeable to comparison with future ones, leading individuals to postpone tasks without anticipation that when it comes time to do them, the required action will be delayed and yet again and again. For example, a smoker who wants to quit can spend many years having one last cigarette. The solution is to find a way to make the long-term goals feel more like short-term rewards. For example, the painful moment of getting into a cold swimming pool can overpower the delayed benefits of doing morning laps. To overcome that resistance, you need to associate the activity with the positive effects of exercise. The fourth thing we do to procrastinate is anxiety. Avoidance is one form of coping with anxiety. Procrastinators may postpone getting started because of fear of failure. Evidence indicates that procrastination is associated with high levels of stress. To relieve the stress, procrastinators shift their focus away from the future toward more immediate rewards in order to avoid high priority rewards. Yet challenging task, that is, finding ways to reduce your stress, is actually a way that can strengthen your capacity to reduce procrastination. And the last reason we procrastinate is self-confidence. When difficulties arise, people with weak self-confidence or weak ego strength easily develop doubts about their ability to accomplish the task at hand. While those with strong ego strength, beliefs are more likely to continue their efforts. When low self-confidence causes people to avoid activities, they miss opportunities to acquire new knowledge and skills. For example, a college student with a low sense of confidence for math may avoid enrollment in upper-level math courses. This decision not to enroll deprives the student of valuable skills. To contrast, goal attainment may raise feelings of self-esteem and self-confidence, which can result when a person setting even more challenging goals. So let's look at how people operate who rarely procrastinate. First of all, these people expect difficulties. Dr. Burns says, those who procrastinate often assume that successful people achieve their goals without frustration, self-doubt, and failure. This is not true. Highly productive people know that life is sometimes frustrating and that obstacles will come up. They're not surprised by them. They just stop, figure out the problem, and do what they need to do to overcome it and persevere. So number one, expect work to be difficult and give yourself permission to go as slowly as you need to go. It still counts. Trick number two from Dr. Burns was do a cost-benefit analysis. And I quote, when you are ducking an important task, weigh the advantages procrastinating and the disadvantages of procrastinating. For example, a pre-med student procrastinated nearly everything, including getting out of bed in the morning. Instead of studying and going to class, he would wander around talking to friends all day and play games on his computer into the night. Although popular and talented, he was on the verge of flunking out. At my request, I had him list the advantages of procrastination. This is what he came up with. 1, it's fun to stay up and to sleep in. 2, I can talk to my friends instead of studying or going to class. 3, I don't have to face the anxiety of going to class and finding out how far behind I am. And 4, I can rebel against my parents for trying to pressure me into becoming a doctor like my dad. He was only able to list 3 disadvantages of his procrastination. 1, I will flunk out of school. 2, I feel anxious and guilty. And 3, my life is going nowhere. After reviewing his list, he took a leave of absence and worked for a year to decide what he really wanted out of life. Ultimately, he realized he had gone on strike in school because he resented his parents trying to control his life. When he returned a year later, he had figured out his priorities. He then went on to become the top student in computer technology at the university. When you list the advantages of your procrastinating, you may find there are good reasons why you avoid doing something. If that is the case, you may need to reevaluate your goals and own them as your own. Next, take little steps for big accomplishments. Most procrastinators tell themselves, I'll wait until I have more time to do this, or I'll wait until I'm in the mood. Both thought patterns will slow you down. Our thoughts have so much power in our lives. Consequently, I often tell my clients, if you want your life to get better, you're going to have to change what your internal dialogue is. Tell yourself a higher truth, like, I don't have time to do this whole project right now, but I do have time to start it. Then start it. Maybe it will just be writing down all the steps that are needed to get the big project done. That counts. So instead of saying, I'll do this when I'm in the mood, tell yourself a higher truth. I will never be in the mood to clean out the garage, but it has to be done. I will go in there and deal with 3 things that are out of order every time I go in the garage. And then I think about 3 items plus 3 items plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, and soon the big project is done. Figure out a little step you can do. Get into the here and now instead of worrying about everything you have to get done. Life exists one moment at a time. So all you have to do at any given time is 1 minute's worth of work. You'll find, too, that once you take that first step, the job won't feel so overwhelming. Give yourself credit for starting. A corollary to learn how to break big projects down into little steps is to eliminate your negative thoughts. Dr. Burns tells us his process of getting his first book published. It was turned down by many publishers, and then he met an editor named Maria, who he really clicked with. She showed him how to rewrite parts of his book to liven up the manuscript. She further told him, it's going to be a bestseller. And here I quote Dr. Burns. I went home with Maria's accolades ringing in my ears, but for some reason I was discouraged. For 10 days I sat at my desk, unable to come up with one new good sentence. Finally, I reached for a blank sheet of paper and wrote down my negative thoughts. Here they are. This book has to be a bestseller. But I'm a psychiatrist, not an author. I don't even know how to write a bestseller. And Maria is going to be really disappointed in me. The moment I got my thoughts down on paper, I felt a flood of relief. I could see my fears were irrational. I realized it wasn't my job to write a bestseller. I could, however, write a helpful book if I wrote it in the same personal style that I used with my patients. How well the book sold was the publisher's responsibility, not mine. Once I changed my negative thoughts, energy returned, and over the next several months, I revised my book, Feeling Good, with enthusiasm. And guess what? It became a bestseller. The last piece of advice from Dr. Burns, as mentioned above, is to give yourself credit. It's important, especially in a big project, to give yourself credit as you go along. We usually think of rewards as coming from the outside. A compliment from a job well done feels great. But getting a high grade on a test or making a big sale to a difficult customer also can be highly motivating. But ultimately, it's best to have compliments that come from within. If you never allow yourself to feel satisfied with your effort, you'll soon come to believe that it is pointless to try. So no matter how small your achievement, take a moment and notice it, and give yourself credit. With this technique, you will find you are capable of doing even the most challenging task. Just remember, the most important step to get over procrastination is this: begin. This is the secret of at least moderating your procrastination. Simply repeat to yourself over and over again, just begin, begin, begin now. Do a little teeny step in the direction you want to go. May it be so, and blessed be, and amen.